Second lesson, in our unit on depression, we get into genetics. What I like about this, covering depression with these, I've carefully chosen them so that they can also be used in the biological approach instead of what was covered in criminology, but it allows students the choice. And it's kind of similar content, so it's not a whole bunch of new material. All right, the serotonin transporter gene. So by the end of today, they should know what it is, which variant is linked with depression, and why. All right, simple true false. They can pick a side of the class, and then we go through the answers. Okay, we always start with a consolidation activity. Oh no, okay, I need to fix those slides. Okay, I'll make a note to fix those slides. One reason I make these videos is it's a way of editing these before they go out. All right, homework. Now, we give them 2 tasks based on the work they did for homework in the last lesson. The mystery questions are, can they recreate the diagram of the synapse? And can they add to it why monoamine oxidase inhibitors inspired the serotonin hypothesis? Right, I took that diagram from the video, and then you can see if there's any volunteers want to come up and diagram it. All right, so we review some content on inhibitors and depression. And the first, pair problem solving, work in pairs. How could we find out if the warrior genes link a risk for criminal behavior? So we're tapping back into what they already know, and we're getting them to think about research methods. Then, here is the second one. That should say pair problem solving number 2. There is another gene. Oh no, maybe this is the first one. Anyway, can they do the same thing, but linking the 5-HTT with depression? Alrighty. Now they read and they look at the methods used in the textbook and see if theirs are similar. Some chalk talk slides to review genetics and what they do. I find the visuals are really helpful. And then we get into chalk and talking the serotonin transporter gene with the different variants. Okay, and what serotonin transporters are and what they do, and the link with depression. Now I've keep finding myself saying in Western samples, people with, and because common the language is the risk variant is the SS genotype, the short allele variant. Actually, that's only been found in Western samples. Fascinatingly, which we go into more detail later in the unit, it's the opposite for Asians. Okay. All right, pair problem solving 2. If low serotonin causes depression, do you want more or fewer serotonin transporters? Okay, again, we're throwing the cognition, the cognitive load back onto them to think about this more carefully rather than just chalk talk and explain. Okay, and then we get into the more. And even when I'm reviewing this stuff, sometimes I have to think, you have to think through the steps carefully and jot it down and diagram it. But that's what we want them to do as well. All right, now I had a mistake in the textbook. I used my intuition, really, and in defense, I wanted to come up with my own explanations and ones. If I can come up with them, then it should hopefully just be logic and students come up with the same thing. My thought was, and I guess evidence, I didn't use Ch6 to write the book, that if you have excess serotonin, then in order to adapt, your brain is going to upregulate and create more serotonin receptors to deal with the excess serotonin in the synapse. However, it's the opposite that happens. It's a downregulated effect. In fact, because there's too much serotonin there, to stop the system getting flooded with serotonin, presumably the downregulates, so fewer receptors, and that creates the desensitization. So anyway, I'd rather own that mistake. All right, key study here for depressed teenagers, and then some time to work on their workbook notes. All right, just to give it a bit of variation, I'll put a Kahoot there that actually reviews the lesson. It's also linked at the start of the next lesson if you prefer. Now, just thinking about the exam prep, at the back of the workbook, there's that table. And it's got some topics from other parts of the course, and they can choose which ones do they think they'd like to prepare for the SAQs. And really this is just showing them that, hey look, by the end of the course, for the SAQs, you don't have to remember all of the stuff. We're giving you some choices. All right, and that's the end of that lesson. Next up, we get into the the diathesis stress model.